I'm Rachel Bubb. I'm a certified financial planner at KW Wealth. Today I'm with Chris Bertarelli from John Hancock, and we're going to talk about how different emotions and biases can influence an investor's behavior. So finance has been based off of two assumptions. One, that markets are efficient and act in predictable manners. And two, investors are rational and make decisions using all available information. Well, what we've discovered is that's not actually the case. Investors are making more decisions based on their emotions, biases, and cognitive errors, and it's ultimately leading to some poor decisions that can impact your long-term financial plan. So let's talk about some of the biases and give you some actionable tips as how to remedy it and make sure that your long-term financial plan is healthy and you're that rational investor that the market is assuming. So Chris, go ahead and take it away.
Thank you, Rachel. It's great to be sharing this information with your group today. Yeah, hindsight bias. Hindsight, locking the barn door after the horse has run away. So we all tend to do that. I've got a great example. Before the financial crisis, banks would issue stated income mortgages. So they had a slang for those mortgages. It was liar loans, right? Because you could basically state whatever you wanted. So you could say, I make $500,000 a year, even though you make $50,000 a year, stated income mortgage, right? And then of course, we have the global financial crisis, and then all of a sudden the banks tighten up their lending standards, right? But by then it had been too late. Perhaps we would have been able to avoid the financial crisis if banks had tighter lending standards before the financial crisis, right? So, or you understand my point. So what if you find yourself thinking or saying something like this, chances are you're under the influence of this bias. I don't care what happens next. I'm moving into cash until things calm down. Or the market has been great this year. I knew I should have invested more, right? Clearly, you're thinking in the past, right? So what should you do about it? So the first thing is, remember that you did the best you could with the information you had. Regrets about the past and fear of the future are the thief of today, right? The reality is we're going to make decisions. A lot of decisions in our life, try to make important decisions reflectively. You take your time and do the analysis, but even if you do that, sometimes we get it wrong. That's okay. Don't beat yourself up, right? Review your plan to make sure it's still consistent with what's important to you. Our biases change over time, right? What's important to me today is very different than what was important to me 10, 20, 30 years ago, right? And as I get older, my goals, my priorities will change as I get older. It's important that those changes are accurately reflected in your financial plan. And try to think long term. Over short periods of time, anything's possible, right? 1 out of every 4 years, the market goes down. And then you have in the middle of the year, you can have these intra-year drawdowns. It's just all really normal. So if you think long term, you'll be less susceptible to making a bad decision when the market pulls back. And consider writing a letter to yourself. Yeah, I love this letter. So it says, my financial professional and I have established a long-term plan. Sometime in the future, the market will correct to the point where I feel uncomfortable staying invested. I may feel scared and ask my advisor to get me out of the market. But I know that my plan is sound, and if anything, it may be a good time to invest more. My long-term goals haven't changed, and I'm committed to sticking to my long-term plan. You write a letter like this, sign it, make a copy, give one to your financial advisor, keep one in an envelope someplace you won't lose it, someplace safe in your home. And when the market's going down, when there's a lot of bad news, what you do is you feel uncomfortable and you're thinking about, selling your portfolio because you're nervous that it's going to go down more. You pull that letter out and it brings you back to a time when you had more confidence, a time when things were a lot more calm. It also increases the likelihood that the next decision you make is going to be reflective and not intuitive. You're not going to make a snap judgment that you may regret when you look back at it. It'll increase the likelihood you'll make a reflective decision. You'll actually stop and slow down and weigh your options before you act.
You will likely find yourself subject to some of these biases. We are human, we're imperfect, We're not always going to be that rational investor. But if we can take some action ahead of time before this presents itself, we're going to be better off for it. So remember to do a few things. One, write down your financial plan and remember that you created it with your advisor. And if it doesn't really resonate with you anymore, there's opportunity to edit it. That's definitely okay because you change, life changes, and we need to make adjustments for it. And then identify steps that will help you recover in times where you start to see yourself slip. So if you're falling into hindsight bias, what do you need in that moment to return back to the fact that, hey, you made the best decision with what you knew at that time, right? You had the information, hopefully you're that rational investor because you had your advisor coaching you. But remember that it's okay. You made the best decision that you could. And then 3, set some realistic expectations. The market's going to go up and it's also going to go down. The sooner we realize that, the better off we'll be. And then stick to a strategy of contributing or adding to the market. If you start adding to the market consistently, you're creating a good habit and a behavior that will keep you seeing through these opportunities and then not be subject to making decisions based on what's going on in the news. Hopefully, you're just sticking to your habit and you're getting the opportunity when there's ups and downs. And then lastly, remember to meet with your financial advisor. Have that regular annual meeting. It's going to help you feel restored in your financial plan, motivated, and you're going to have ultimately long-term financial success.